Hello artists! Today in this video we are going to talk about the essentials you need to buy when you want to start painting acrylics. If you don't know me, my name is Julie. I've been painting since 2018 and I post essentially all my content on my Instagram page, and I'm starting this YouTube channel where I will be sharing painting tutorials, tips to become an artist, and how to learn about acrylics in general. So let's dive right into it. The essentials to buy. First of all, we are going to talk about the paints. It's really going to depend if you want to mix your own colors yourself or if you want to use pre-made colors. I recommend when you start out and you don't really know anything about mixing colors, it's better to buy these packs that they offer in the art shops where they have maximum colors, because mixing your own ones, it can be really difficult and kind of discouraging at first. After, in time, when you start to get the sense of it, then it's easier to actually mix them yourself because you can get into way more shades. But at first, buying the little ones, little tubes, but with maximum colors is the best option I could recommend. The only things you would have to mix is if you want to change slightly the color, like if you have different reds and different yellows, different blues, then you're gonna have way more options and you won't have to mix a lot, and you'll just have to maybe do lighter shades, brighter shades, or darker shades, and with that you can only mix like with the white or with the black or Payne's gray. The mixing would be to a minimum and it would be clearly easier at first. Then if you want to go into something a little bit more challenging, then you can buy your own colors, and then I can recommend to buy only the primary ones, so yellow, blue, and primary red, and titanium white, and you can either buy some black, or I use only Payne's gray because I feel when I mix with black, then the colors are like it's really violent to mix with black, and Payne's gray is a little bit more lighter than the black, so I get my better darker shades with that. Then when you mix them yourself, you can buy the bigger formats, and in long term it will be cheaper than buying all the time the little ones, especially when you do big formats like I do. In terms of brands, I don't know in which country you're from, so I don't know which kind of art stores that you have. Here in France, we have stores like Cultura where we can buy a lot of different brands that are really good when you're starting out. I know that I started out with PBO that you can probably find on internet, and then I used the Liquitex Basics, which I did not really like. Now I use Liquitex Professional and Heavy Body that I find are way better because they're gonna cover the canvas with only one layer or two layers. But with the Liquitex Basics, I think it was really translucent, transparent, which means that when I would paint over my canvas one time, you can really see the canvas behind, and I did not like that. So after using PBO, I tried the Liquitex Basics, and then I quickly went on to Le Franc Bourgeois, which was a really good quality and not too expensive. Because when you go on to Liquitex Professional, it really starts becoming a budget. It's higher priced, and I don't recommend that when you just start out acrylics. It's really not necessary. Then you're gonna need a palette. So they exist in a lot of different materials. The one that you can just like reuse, you have like wood, these types of plastics, or like glass, or things like that. I think glass is more for like oil paintings, but for acrylics, I really think that the most practical and easiest option is to have like these kind of detachable palettes where it's like different. See, you have like a lot of different sheets and you just paint on it, and when you're done with your colors and your painting, you just like take it off, throw it away, and you have a new one. Why am I saying this? Even if it's not the most eco-friendly one, I think that in the long term it is, because since acrylic is a type of paint that dries really fast, if you have it on these types of palettes that are like in wood or whatever, they're gonna dry even faster, and then to take it off, it's like almost impossible. It's time consuming, and honestly, I would always end up to have some dry paint on my palette that I couldn't be able to get off, and I would put like new paint on top of it, and so that would reactivate the dry paint, and when I would put it on my canvas, I would have like these little dry parts of paint that would go on my canvas. So it was like a total failure. I didn't want to do that anymore, so I just opted for this, and it's way more practical, and I use like one of these for like 1 year. It literally took me 1 year to finish my other palette. So now let's talk about brushes. It's pretty much the same logic as for the paints. I think the more you try out different brushes, the quicker and easier you're gonna find which brushes work for you, because there's 1,000 different types of brushes that you can try out, and each brush gives a certain effect on your canvas, and certain things you can't do if you don't have the right brush. So if you want me to go into details into what effect goes into each brush, just write it in the comments and I'll be making a future video about it. In the meantime, I'm going to talk to you about the brushes that I use that I find absolutely necessary to paint things that I paint, like waves like this. I use this kind of brush. I don't know how it's called in English, but as you can see, it goes into a little diagonal form, and this is what I use to make all of my wave movements, and I have never been able to make the same effects I do with this brush by using any other brush that I tried out. So this one is very important for me, especially when you do waves like this or just like oceanscape like you can see in the one in the background. I also use these types of brushes that is gonna be way more thick and scrapier, I guess, and they're gonna be able to make like the foams that I do. It's gonna give a little bit of texture. It's going to kind of like scrape, make this kind of scraping effect on my canvas, and I find it very interesting. My splatter, which is for me really a basic that anybody should have, because it's what I'm going to do all my sketches with when I'm going to cover my first layers of my canvases. It's like a time saver because I'm just going to put all the paint and cover all my canvas quickly than with the little brushes. So having a big splatter is really time saver. Another brush that I could not live without is the blending brush. This is a brush to make all of my blendings. Like you can see up here in this painting right here, where I'm gonna have like two colors kind of like get mixed smoothly together. This is I'm going to do with the blending brush, and I have never been able to do it this smoothly with another brush. I sometimes use my splatter to do it, but it's not going to be very neat. So this for me is really important, and I've only found it in one brand, which is Graduate right here. I have never found another brand that does this kind of brush, which is pretty annoying because even though it's like I have like tens of those, it's really frustrating because they lose a lot of their hair, and that is really inconvenient when you're painting, and it's not pretty and it's not quality like. So I really don't like the fact that they lose their hair inside the paintings. I always have a detail brush because when I'm going to do little tiny details, well, it's good to have a brush that has like the minimum amount of hairs in it. And I have a round brush. I think this is one of the basics that every painter has. It's always necessary in some kinds of situations, but it's not the one that I use the most. Honestly, I'm always with my splatter and my kind of diagonal brush that I don't know what it's called. So for you, when you're starting out, I really recommend to buy packs, like for the paints, packs that have a lot of different kinds and types of brushes. Not the packs where you have like only round brushes but different sizes. I think the packs that have different types of brushes is the best one to go when you start out acrylics, because you're going to be able to find your style, you're going to be able to try out the different effects that they do, and that's really important when you want to paint different sort of subjects. Like as I said earlier, it's not going to be the same when you're going to be blending, it's not going to be the same when you're going to do waves effects, and it's not going to be the same when you're going to paint like foam, and it has to be kind of like splashing all around. Something else that I find really important and just necessary when you paint is to buy a knife. So this one is still, it has dry paint on it because I'm a really lazy person and I don't wipe it out when it's still wet, thing that I should absolutely do. So I have to take it out with like this cutter thingy. But this is really important when you're gonna mix your colors, because when you start out acrylics, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna mix my colors with a brush, which is absolutely impossible, and you're gonna lose a lot of paint and you're never gonna be able to like mix your colors quickly and efficiently, and it's gonna be like, it's not good. So you can buy these little knives. They even make packs for like €1, so it's really practical. And above the mixing, it's going to be great for making other types of effects, but I don't find it necessary at first when you start at acrylics, but it is necessary to mix your colors. So now let's talk about the canvas. You have two options. There are others that exist that I've never tried, so I'm not going to talk about them. The ones that I have tried are the cotton canvases and the linen canvases. When you start out, I clearly recommend to buy the cotton canvases because they are way cheaper than the linen ones. And if you don't have if you want to make it a hobby and you don't want to necessarily sell them at like high prices and all, then cotton canvases are really good. They're still good quality. And I would say like the big difference is that a linen canvas is going to have like the grain that's going to be way thinner than on a cotton canvas. And it's going to be a little bit more resistant in time. It would be a little more thick than the cotton canvas. There are little details that differ, but honestly, when you start out, cotton canvases are just fine. The big difference about the grain is like if you want to go into really, really thin details to be like hyper realistic, it's going to be different if you have a grain that's thicker than a grain that's thinner. That's the only difference. It's going to be easier on a linen canvas because you can make like very, very straight lines. Then on the cotton canvases, it's going to be a little like this. I really don't know how to explain it otherwise. You can try a different kind of supports like a wooden canvas or something. I have tried that out. I did not like it at all because even though it's also cheaper, it's really hard. Like I can't blend my colors at all on it because it's gonna be way more like scrapier. And even though I put gesso on it for it to be more smooth, it doesn't make that much of a difference, honestly, and I find it way harder. What I'm saying right now in this video or any other video you can see on my channel, this is clearly my opinion, my personal opinion, and it's not like the whole truth. I don't know if you've seen my other content on my Instagram page, but I did not go to art school. I'm fully self-made. So I'm just giving you my personal advice and sharing my experience with what I've tested out and that works for me. But in this type of activity, which is art and painting, acrylics, I feel like it's somewhere where you want to be really free and try out a maximum of experiences that you can and test out what works for you and doesn't work for you. Next thing you're going to want to buy is an easel, which is what you're going to put your canvas on to paint on. So they exist in smaller formats, and the question you're going to have to ask yourself and which one is good for you is what kind of canvases and size of canvases you're going to want to paint. If you want to do small sizes, then you can buy the small types of easels that they make that you can put like on your desk or something, and that's going to be cheaper and it's going to be really easy to travel with. And if you want to like go outdoors painting, then well, it's just more practical. If you want to paint bigger canvases like this one, then you're going to need to have a bigger easel because it's going to have to be able to support the canvas format, and they have like different kind of functionalities, like you're going to be able to move your canvas from up to down if you're painting while you're sitting or if you're painting standing up according to the size of your canvas and things like that. And then what's going to differ between a low quality and a high quality is pretty much the wood, these little functionalities, and like the weight or something. If it's heavier, then when you're going to paint like really madly, which I sometimes do, if it's heavier, then it won't go like this. And if it's really like the cheaper ones are, then it's gonna be like less stable. But when you start out, I mean, this clearly not something that's really important, and you can buy like an easel for maybe $20 or something like that. I know I painted for like 3 years with a cheap one that was really light with like low quality wood, and it was just fine. I changed mine like a year ago, so it's really okay to start with something that's very cheap. The things you would want to buy if you ever want to sell them or if you really want your paintings to last in time, on your canvas you can buy some that already have some gesso on it. So just verify that when you buy it, and if you don't have at all gesso on it, then you're gonna have to put some on it, and that is going to help your canvas. When you paint with a lot of water, then you're not going to have like the paint that's going to go through your canvas when you have gesso on it. And also it's going to be a little more opaque, so when you like take the painting and put it in front of a window, you'll see that the light won't pass through, as if you have like only your cotton canvas with nothing on it, then it's going to be really translucent and you're going to have like all the sunlight that goes through, and that's not good. So It's really important to put gesso on it first, but again, this depends in why you're painting, and if it's just a hobby and you just want to try out. Honestly, I went a year without having gesso on my paintings. Then I regretted it because I ended up selling those paintings. So I was like, okay, this is not good quality, and some of my paintings I couldn't sell because of that. But if you only want to do it for yourself, you do not need to buy this. Something else for your painting to resist more in time is to add a varnish in the end. So when your paint is completely dry, we're going to add some varnish on it. And that is going to protect it from the light, and it's going to protect it, like if you have, I don't know, some coffee that gets spilled on it or some water that gets spilled on it, which already happened to me, so you never know. You can just like wipe it off, and it won't like wipe off the painting, and it will actually come off, because otherwise, like I have a painting that has not been varnished yet, and there's some water that went on it, and I do not know what I'm gonna do to get it off. I think I'm just gonna have to paint over it, because I won't be able to take off that. Anyways, it will just protect your painting in general, and there are different types of varnishes that exist on the market. You can have some that's liquid and some that is just spray varnish. I tried out both. I can talk about this in another video if that interests you. But I did not like the liquid varnish at all, because I had a lot of dust that would go into my painting. It was just awful. Whereas with the spray varnish, it would just like go way more smoothly on my painting. It's like way less time consuming, and I have no dust in it, but I could go into details another time about this. The other materials that you are going to need that you probably already have at home, I use like wiping sheets that I use when I mix my colors with my knife, because if you mix like some gray and then you want to mix some blue, well, it's going to be like this dirty, and you're just going to have to like wipe it off and just, you know, to mix your other colors and not have your first color go into your second color. And then I would use this wiping sheets to like maybe dab my brushes when I put water in it. I have too much water, I would just dab it on that sheet. That's like really important. I use it every time I paint. Other things that you're going to need are these like plastic cups or whatever cups that you can just reuse, where I put my water in it, like when I have paint on my brush and I don't want to use it anymore so it doesn't dry and just ruin my brush, I just put it in the water. And also there's a lot of times where I paint, I just add water to my paint to do certain effects, like when you're blending, you're gonna need some water. So I have these plastic cups for that. And I also have like a ruler or like some tape that I could just put on my painting to draw all the horizon lines. So it's really going to depend if you have some like landscapes or seascapes where it's gonna have to be like a really straight lines, or if you have to paint a boat where I'm gonna have to do like these very straight lines. I just use a ruler because it's easier. I already tried to do it like hands-free, and honestly it just did not work out for me. I never do a straight line just by hands. I have to use a ruler or something. All right, and that's it. I think I told you everything that you have to buy when you want to try out acrylics for the first time. I think all of these are the cheaper options and with which you can start painting your very first artwork. Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable, and subscribe. Hit the bell to be sure to not miss out on all my other videos where I will be sharing some tips, some painting tutorials, and everything you need to know to understand acrylics. I'll see you soon in the next video.